Starbucks is the world's most famous coffee shop, making $2 million per store every single year. But here's the shocker. It's not the coffee that makes them so successful. It's 3 genius strategies. Strategies that you can steal to start printing money in your own business. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jennifer Waters and I own 7-Figure Digital. We're a marketing agency with a portfolio of brands across many different industries like health, education, martial arts, dance, home services. And over the years, I've worked with hundreds of business owners to help them scale and build businesses that don't just survive, but thrive. And today, we're diving into Starbucks, one of the most iconic and profitable brands in the entire world. They've literally cracked the code on 3 key strategies: emotional branding, loyalty loops, and FOMO, fear of missing out. So if you stick with me, I'm gonna show you exactly how these strategies can work for you and how you could use them to grow your own business. You see, Starbucks doesn't just sell coffee, they sell a feeling, a lifestyle. When you walk into a Starbucks, you're greeted by warm lighting, cozy chairs, and just the right music. That's not by accident. It's actually called emotional branding. You see, Starbucks positions itself as your third place. It's not home, not work, but it's the in-between spot where you can recharge or even get some work done. Now, this idea came from their former CEO, Howard Schultz. He wanted Starbucks to be more than a coffee shop. He wanted it to be a community hub. Now, I'm gonna show you how this works and how you can apply it to your business. So the first step is, if you already know, okay, I know that my customers value their home time. I also know that they're at work. So my third place is my business. And that third place is gonna be the in-between home and work. Now, what would I have to do to incorporate elements of home and elements of work into my third place so that I could get people to get that same exact feeling that we talked about that Starbucks has? So let's start off with home, okay? One thing that you can do right away to improve that sense of feeling at home is how people are treated when they walk in the door. Now, in several of my companies, they are customer facing. So whether they're customer facing physically, like meaning people walk into the brick and mortar location I have, or whether they're greeted over the phone or on Zoom digitally, we want them to feel a certain way. We want them to be treated a certain way. Now, I know we all understand that in business, you should treat your clients well, but how well does your team actually understand that, know that? So some simple ways that you can do this is you can start making sure that your team, your employees, start referring to the customers, the clients that walk into your door by their name. This is the number one word in the language, in the English language, in the language of whatever your customers speak. The number one word that they want to hear is their name. So remember those Starbucks, the Starbucks cups, right? So you got your coffee cup and you've got your name actually written on that cup. That's something that Starbucks does because what they're trying to do is they're trying to do identity marketing. You see, anytime that you can create that emotional connection with your client with something as simple as their name, it reinforces that people love being somewhere where they get treated like they're at home. Okay, and typically when you're in your home, somebody at least is saying your name, your partner, your children, your significant other. So we're keeping that, and using their name is going to be really important. The other thing that we also want to do besides the name is we want to make sure that we have warm welcomes. Okay, so when someone is walking into your store, your place of business, your school, your academy, whatever it is, they're making contact with you. How are your employees, how are your team members actually referring to that person? Sure, they might be saying, hey Jim, hey Bob, hey Susan. Or are they warm when they're greeting them? Hey, Miss Smith, so great to see you. How did everything go at Jimmy's baseball game yesterday? So they're not only giving them warm welcomes, they're also pulling in other sources of knowledge. Now, this is something that Starbucks baristas used to do really well. Now I would actually say that they probably need a little bit more work on this. They probably need to go kind of back to the training. But I remember back in the day that my Starbucks barista actually knew what was going on in my everyday life, asked questions, and really created that emotional connection. And that is what you want to do if you really want to be treated as that third place, like home. Now, what if you're wanting to create more of a work environment type feel? Maybe your business isn't where people come to relax or people come to feel that connection, but maybe they're coming to your business because it's helping them with dollars, like they're getting more revenue. How do you want to make them feel? Well, number one, you still want to use their name because they are a trusted partner. So if you think about if you have a business partner, if you have a vendor that you use, the more that you trust that partner or that vendor, the easier it is to continue doing business with them. And that's the same thing here. So we want to use their name again. Using the name is so very important and is so crucial. The other thing that we want to do is we want to have several different touch points as well. So similar to what we talked about with the warm welcomes, hey Mrs. Smith, how's it going? How was Jimmy's baseball game? We want to have touch points based on business. So when we're talking about their business, we might say, hey, Bob, how's revenue this quarter? Did that strategy work out for the last quarter? Like you want to pull in what was it that happened recently so we can create those touch points based on their business and create that overall connection. Now, the other thing that you can also do, like I said earlier, was pulling in other sources of knowledge. You can still do that as well if you want to get personal with them. And depending upon your business, this may be a really good idea to get personal with those things. Now, the second thing for both, if you're going for more of a home feel, if you're going for more of a work business feel, the second thing that I would encourage both to do is to really pay attention to the aesthetics of your business. Think about when you walk into a Starbucks store. You've got, like I mentioned before, the lights, the atmosphere, all those different things. And it's designed to be a happy medium. It's designed to be a place that's for home, but it's also designed to be a place for work. There are workstations that are set up. So think about if you're wanting it to be workstations that are set up, you actually want to be able to have tables. You want to be able to have outlets for power. And I would also say that in both cases, maybe you have some comfy chairs, because if someone's been sitting at a desk all day, they don't want to also sit at another desk. Now, what if you're in an office environment? How would you have tables? Would you have outlets? Would you have comfy chairs? It kind of depends. There's a local mechanic that I go to that actually does this really well. They recognize that they have people that are consumers. They also recognize that they have work, business people that are coming to drop off their cars for an oil change or service. And because they're without their cars, they're going to be stuck there for quite a while. So this place actually has the comfy chairs. They actually have some, I would say some like bar stools and bar tables that are kind of lined up along the side, so that if you did have work, you could go to that area, you could do your work with your laptop, etc. Now, the other thing that you can also do is you can have beverages and food. Now, by having beverages and foods, you're going to automatically lower the guard of someone who needs to spend money with you. So even if you're not dealing with a place where you would feel like, okay, somebody's going to stay here for a long while, they're going to be spending the next hour or 2 hours with me, maybe you have a shorter duration, you may not want to have beverages or food, but you can have light candies. And I would say candy, meaning like peppermints, mints, just something that's simple that will lower that barrier down. It's really going to help you be able to create that third place feeling, no matter what type of business it is that you actually have. Next, let's talk about loyalty loops. Starbucks' secret weapon for keeping customers hooked and spending more. Every time you buy, you actually earn stars. But here's the genius part. Those stars in their app are just far enough out of reach to keep you coming back for more. It's called a progress loop, and it really works like magic. So let me give you an example. You're 5 stars away from a free drink. So what do? Even if you don't need coffee, you're gonna likely stop by just to get closer. And once you're there, you're probably spending more than just the cost of that free drink. But the loop doesn't just stop there. You see, Starbucks tracks your purchases, they learn from your preferences, and they personalize every interaction. That's why their emails and their app notifications feel like they were just written for you. And there are two simple things that you can do to take this strategy and start applying it in your business. So the first is gonna be creating a loyalty loop, okay? I'm actually gonna walk you through what I mean by a loyalty loop. So let's say, for example, that you're a martial artist, just like me, right? So when you first come in and you're learning martial arts, you start off at a lowly white belt. Now, once you're starting off at this white belt, back in ancient times, or so the legend goes, there was actually only two belts. There was a white belt and there was a black belt. Now the problem is that when Americans started going, hey, wait a second, we can actually commercialize this product, we can sell martial arts classes. The problem was that you had these masters who were white belts, and then they just stayed training forever and ever and ever, and then eventually they became black belts. But the vast majority of people wouldn't stay engaged long enough because they didn't see progress. And so what ended up happening is you started having all these other belts along the timeline. So if white belt was on this side and black belt was on this side, you might see a yellow belt here, an orange belt here, blue, a green, a purple, a brown, a red, and then you'd eventually end up at a black belt. And each of these belt ranks represented time to goal. They represented a step in the journey. And what would happen is each time one of these got checked off, it reinforced the fact that you were getting closer and closer and closer to ultimately achieving the goal of that black belt. Now, how could you apply this in your business? Well, if you are a goal-oriented business, meaning you are a video game manufacturer, they're going to create levels to that game that reward behavior for participating in the game. Just like we're rewarding behavior over here because you're participating in classes, you're learning your requirements, you're passing the curriculum to get to that next level. So you've got to think to yourself, what is it that I want them to do? What is it that I want my customers to do to reinforce spending time with my business, to reinforce spending money with my business in order for them to earn that next goal? So what drives behavior? Once you figure this out, and you can figure out what drives the behavior of those customers, then you can just create different levels. So again, if we're going from white belt to black belt, we want to get them to this black belt level. What are the behaviors that they need to achieve each and every single time to be awarded the next rank to get to that next belt? Or in the case of Starbucks, what they're doing is they're breaking it down into stars. They're just saying if you earn so many stars or so many points, 50 points equals a free drink or maybe a pastry. And so what they're going to do is they're going to give you something. They're going to say, hey, if you keep spending money here and spending money all the way through, then we'll eventually give you some points. And those points can be translated into something for free. So you can use this with either model. You can either drive people towards a certain goal and you're just reinforcing their behavior towards that goal, or you can use a point system similar to this where each time they spend a little bit more money with you, each time they use your services, your products, you're just going to go ahead and give them another level that they can then redeem later. All right, let's say that you're a service-based business. Let's say that you're in the health space, something like that, and people come for visits to you. Okay, well, if your visits are required visits, meaning like sick care, you might not want to use this principle or concept. If you're only going to be seeing them one time a year, it doesn't make sense to incentivize them to come back. But let's say that you are a chiropractor. Let's say that you're a massage therapist. Let's say that you are doing something in the space where having them come back to participate in more visits for wellness is going to be advantageous for them. Well, then maybe once they come to one visit, they get a certain checkbox checked off, and then even a simple thing as simple as a punch card system, and then they get the free thing at the end right here will keep them motivated to come back. You can also tie this into setting appointments. So if you really want them likely to return, I would make sure that I would go at the end at checkout, hey, by the way, you've earned 1 check mark. Let's go ahead and set your next appointment where you'll earn the next check mark. And by the way, at the end, you get this big free thing after having 5 check marks. So you can kind of see how this loyalty loop could work, or this goal loop could work for your business. So finally, Starbucks is the king of FOMO, or the fear of missing out. So drinks like the pumpkin spice latte or the red holiday cups, they're not just beverages, they're limited time offers that create urgency. So when you know something is only gonna be here for a short amount of time, you actually act faster. And even if you're not a pumpkin spice fan, you might buy it just to be part of the moment. I mean, I know I did. But Starbucks doesn't just stop there, they amplify FOMO with social media. So every hashtag, TikTok, viral video, Starbucks doesn't even have to pay for it. You know, customers do the marketing for them. And the result is that over $100 million in pumpkin spice latte sales happen in just 3 months. So how do you go about creating FOMO for your business? Well, one is you want to be able to create products or services that are limited time offers. Now, this is really easy to do when it comes to marketing. You just choose seasons of the year. You say it's our limited time spring special, or you say it's our limited time Christmas special, or this is our end of the year clearance. Like, there are so many different ways for you to create marketing urgency there. But let's say you have an ongoing service and maybe you want to say, hey, I only have 5 spots left. I only have 3 left. I only have 7 left. You can create this urgency not just by time, but also limiting the amount that you're going to allow to be sold or allow to be serviced. So those are 2 ways that you can think of to create that FOMO or to create that urgency. Now, what Starbucks does obviously is they really base it around seasonality. But at the same time, how many times have you been to a Starbucks store and they literally ran out of the drink? So you know that there is a limited supply as well in that created urgency that they have. So you can wrap that into your business also. Now, the interesting thing is that they also have what's called UGC, or user generated content. This user generated content are those hashtags, are those viral TikToks, those reels that you might see on social media. What they're literally doing is they've created such a movement that users on those platforms are generating their own content about their products. Now, as a small business, this can be a lot harder to do unless you start planting certain people to be users that generate content on your behalf. So this is a next level advertising strategy where you're literally saying, hey, look, I want you to go because you have a social media following and I want you to talk about my business and I want you to create these viral videos talking about my business. You might even give them some specific points that you're going to want them to talk about in order to create that UGC, that user generated content. Now, that's a little bit harder to do. You have to set up those relationships. You have to determine how you're going to pay that person in order to create that user generated content. And also, you got to think, does this person actually warrant being paid? Do they have a large friend group on Facebook? Do they have a lot of followers on Instagram or on TikTok? Are they able to go viral? And if they're not, then it may not be worth your money or time to spend on them to create that UGC. Instead, you may want to use the MGC model, which is going to be, or you may want to use the MGC model, which stands for movement generated content. So this is where you, as a business owner, create a movement around whatever the seasonal, limited time, FOMO offer is that's out there. So you're gonna take your social media content, you're gonna craft it all around this movement that you're creating. The movement could be as simple as, we're creating this brand new wild product that's never been seen before, this service that we've never seen. It's gonna impact the community in such a way. So you're literally creating a movement where people are gonna wanna join that movement. They're gonna wanna share that. For example, maybe you've created a certain service that's gonna benefit breast cancer awareness. And so you created this movement around breast cancer awareness month, but it's also tied into some sort of product or service that you're offering. So you're attacking cancer, but you're also creating a movement around that product or service that you are offering. But Starbucks isn't the only company turning simple ideas into massive profits. There's a business pulling in billions every single day. They're not selling to massive corporations. They're selling directly to consumers like me and you. Here's the crazy part. Only use 3 key strategies to become absolutely unstoppable over the past 20 years. So click here to see how Amazon mastered this game and how you can learn the same playbook and strategies to do it in your business too.